Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome to this talk that it's titled Help Your Customer Move On from an Unsupported Odoo Version. I'll give you a quick agenda just so that you know what you can expect from this talk. I'll give you a quick introduction about me and about BrainTech, and then we'll dive into the topics of this talk that are how to help your customer, taking into account customization analysis, customer assessment, upgrade strategies, effective communications, and of course the roadmap definition for the upgrade. And at the end, as usual, we will have a Q&A. About myself, I am Jose Montero. I am a project manager at BrainTech. I've been working at BrainTech and with Odoo exclusively for more than 13 years. And I have experience both consulting and in technical aspects via developments. A little bit about BrainTech, the company I work for. We have already digitalized more than 400 companies. We have locations in 5 countries, and we are Odoo Gold Partner in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. And we are proud to have been nominated for the Odoo Award 7 times, and we have been awarded the Best Odoo Partner Europe for 4 times. As mentioned, we are fully dedicated to Odoo, and we offer full support, and we have the most experts in Odoo with certifications in multiple versions. Okay, so this is the QR code for the talk. So if you want to scan it, I'll give you a few seconds so that you can start posting any questions you may have. Although at the end of the presentation, you will have it again, so you will have the chance again later. Okay, so let's dive into the topic. When your customer is in an, if you are a customer, but I am going to talk to you as if you were partners. If your customer is in an old Odoo version and they are struggling into moving to a newer version, of course, the first thing you need to do is to analyze the customizations that they have so that you can properly create a budget. So that's going to be the first thing to take into account. For this analysis, you need to check, of course, any custom modules that you have developed for them or that they have had developed. And you need to remember as well that you need to check everything studio related, all the studio customizations, automation rules, server actions, and something that sometimes gets forgotten, purchased apps and OCA modules. Which are things that if you are going to upgrade, for example, imagine that you come from Odoo 12 and you want to upgrade to Odoo 19, the chances of purchase apps not being already upgraded to 19 because it's very recent are very high. So you need to take that into account because you may need to talk to the authors of those apps, get into touch with them to see if they are going to upgrade it, and if not, what are you going to do? Can you upgrade them yourself if they are still needed? Do you need to remove them from the system if that's a possibility? And the same thing for OCA modules. Are they going to be migrated by the community? Is there someone in the pipeline? If there's no one, do you have the team to do the migration yourself? Which is, of course, something nice to do so that you collaborate with the community. But those things need to be taken into account so that you can create a budget that is accurate enough so that you can present it to your customer and take an informed decision. Key questions in general: are things still needed? If they are not needed, should we remove it? What is the implication of removing it? Just for the record, removing things is not just removing, because you may need to adjust table data, migrate data. So it's not as simple as that, okay, I don't need it, I remove it. So you will need to allocate some time and some budget to those specific tasks. And as said, is it already upgraded or in the progress? For example, from personal experience, you see that an OCA module is in the process of being upgraded. You see maybe a pull request, so you know that maybe in 1-2 months it's going to be available. So you can take it into account. Simply don't get too much budget for it, but still keep it in your mind that maybe you will need to help out somehow, maybe with some dev resources to do some pull reviews or whatever. Just take into account all these things so that your budget, the one you need to provide, it's as accurate as possible so that your customer have the possibility to decide if right now they have the capacity to move on or not, because that's going to be important. Uh, Once you have your analysis and you have an initial budget, potentially with some minimum, with some optimistic values, and maybe with some including potential delays, problems, and things that are likely to happen. Because remember, upgrade processes, they are challenging, they are intimidating, and they may have complexities. So the customer needs to be aware of that. And because of that, it's very important to take into account to assess the satisfaction of your customer with their current Odoo version and with you as a partner. With the current Odoo version, it is very possible that your partner loves the current Odoo version. So I had a customer that was in Odoo 10 and Odoo 16 was already out, and they didn't want to upgrade simply because they loved Odoo 10. They were used to it, they grow to love it, and really they didn't find Odoo 16 that appealing, just because they were so used to 10. So you as a partner, if you have a good satisfaction, if they are satisfied with your work and you have their trust, you need to find great features in the newer version so that the step of upgrading is really convincing for them. Because it's not only that, yeah, it's nicer, it looks nicer, it's fast, it's faster. I mean, maybe my current system is already fast, maybe my current system is tailored, so I don't need to spend a lot of money to have something that I don't need. So you really need to try to find all those great features that you know that your customer may benefit from. Like right now in 19, there is a lot of AI. So maybe you do find custom uses for that AI for your customer workflows. And that's something that you need to try to explain to them without forcing, because in the end, this is a big decision and it needs to be really made by themselves. But you as a partner really need to find these options for them so that they feel the need that it's the right time to upgrade. Another important thing that I think sometimes gets forgotten is to schedule reminders for upgrades. So as partners, we know that every year there is a new Odoo version. As partners, we know that after 3 years, after 3 versions, your Odoo becomes unsupported. Now it's not really unsupported, but you have this that it's going to have extra costs. And we all that are technical may know that after 6, 7, 8 years, technology has evolved a lot. Maybe security patches are no longer available. JavaScript, Python versions change, so maybe you are already in an old version that exploits are there, and maybe you are not able to really provide the proper security layers for that. So all those things are important, but it's important that we tell them. So every year we should at least try to tell them, hey, there is a new version, your version is this, the new version is this. You are still fully supported by Odoo SA, you are still fully supported by us, but take into account this, this, and this, because maybe it would be great that in 2 years or next year, we start trying to do an upgrade. If you have this kind of reminders, they can start thinking about it, and then they may be able to allocate budget for the next year. Because as you know, it's very difficult to allocate budget in the year. It doesn't matter if it's a small company or a big company. So money is one issue, but as well the bureaucratic aspects is another issue. So always be proactive and do communicate. And of course, once you feel that the urge is there, like of course if you are now in version 18, urging for version 19 should not be there, it's not urgent. It's nice, but it's not urgent. But if you are in version 11 and we are already in version 19, the urge is there because technology-wise, you are quite behind. So those kind of things we need to tell them, because otherwise they may feel lost and abandoned. And they may say, why didn't you say before? Because right now I don't have the capacity for such an upgrade. And we need to wait 1, 2, or 3 years because really maybe they are not able to tackle such a project. Because remember that an upgrade is not only money, it's also time. Time for them to test, and time for them to have a go live, time for them where they are not going to be super productive the very first days, because things are going to happen. So all those things need to be taken into account. And as a partner, you need to proactively explain those things to them. Regarding upgrade strategies, so I just wanted to put here a few of the options. I'm not saying these are all the options, but when you are dealing with an upgrade, these are the ones that we usually discuss with them, and you need to give these options to them, and they need to decide which is the one that they are willing to go with. A one-to-one upgrade is basically what you have in your old version, you are going to have it in the new, except for the things that no longer exist. Those things cannot be there. So if an OCA module is no longer existing because the new Odoo version maybe includes that feature, for sure you need to allocate a little bit of budget to make sure that you remove the OCA module and you adjust whatever is needed for the standard. Those things are mandatory, and it's included, let's say, in the one-to-one upgrade. Usually this is the cheapest upgrade because you don't have to analyze in detail, you don't have to think too much about what do I need, what I don't need, which workflows do we need to adjust. That requires time for you to discuss, again, requirements and processes with your customer, and then it requires as well time during the technical phase to get rid of code and readjust stuff. So usually that's the easiest and, let's say, less costly option. The other options are a little bit more complicated because you will need to do a more detailed assessment, but they are possibilities, and in the end the result may even be better because you are going to tailor again the solution for the new version. Upgrades and removals. The typical thing that you will need to do is to detect which requirements in the past are no longer needed, either because they never use them or they use them very scarcely, but that's very typical that at the beginning they want maybe lots of things. You try to persuade them from doing them, but still they want them, and maybe after 2 or 3 years they are no longer used. So why keeping them? Why not removing them so that in the next upgrade you don't even have to take care of them, and then you can be faster and more efficient? That's about removals, or removals from things that are no longer available, like purchased apps. Maybe in 12 there was a purchased app that was doing something. In the current version, the author is no longer supporting that app. What do? Should we remove it and we don't need it anymore, or should we somehow upgrade it ourselves? That would go a little bit as well in that area. The other option that we sometimes do is if we feel that some pieces of code, like workflows, etc., needs to be refactored because maybe things have changed so much in the core that whatever you were doing in the older version, in the newer version, is no longer applicable as it is. So yeah, you may need to refactor some stuff. Maybe it's easy to keep it as it was, but maybe refactoring makes you more efficient, more performant. So it could be a good decision, it could be a smart decision, but it will take extra time, and you will need to write that down into your budget so that your customer is aware of it. And more scarcely, this situation, but when you are in versions that are super old, so imagine that you are in OpenERP 8, and you want to migrate now to Odoo 19, that could be the case. Do we really want to upgrade the database that you have, or is it really easier, depending on the customizations and everything, to start over? So that you start over in 19, completely new system, and then you just export the data from Odoo and take it into the new database, and that's it. That is an option. Of course, only recommended for this kind of situation. So if you are just upgrading, let's say, 5 or less versions, this should not be in general an option. But if it's more than 5 versions, maybe it's something to take into account. And of course, as partners, you can discuss it with the Odoo guys, because they can give you as well lots of insights, because they have scripts. So if you don't know, when you do an upgrade, you need to send your database, your current database, to Odoo SA, so that they do the migration of the data at data level, and they have a script for that. So they know what they are doing in those scripts, and you can have a lot of information from them, like, okay, what do you think about this specific database? Should we try, or let's try, and after you analyze what's happening, should we really continue? Because maybe the number of things that can happen are so massive that it's better this last option, just for you to be aware of it. Whatever you choose, your customer needs to be on board, and it needs to be included in your quote, in your budget, so that there are no surprises. Because in the end, being transparent is the key. So you need the trust, you need to be transparent about everything, and one of the things you to be transparent, of course, is the budget, because that is going to be a key factor. If there is no money allocated for this year for the upgrade, there is no way you can do an upgrade. Which is why a reminder, an upgrade reminder, is super important, so that if you remind them this year, maybe next year they were able to allocate the money necessary for that, and you can work with it. Of course, if you try to allocate a budget today for next year, the budget that you are going to provide is for the current version, so in the next version maybe it's a little bit different. So as well, taking that into account, that the more versions you migrate, you upgrade, the more complicated it is. You need to upgrade the database more steps, and the chances of big core changes are higher. So that's something as well that you would need to take into account, and that's why usually you need to provide like multiple budgets, like at least like this is the bare minimum, no way to go lower. This is an optimistic variable, and potentially something like, but don't be afraid if suddenly we get this other more pessimistic option, because the possibility is there. Again, it's a challenging project to do an upgrade, and it's intimidating, especially for the customers, and especially in their first upgrade. Super intimidating. So be as transparent as you can with the budget, with the timeline. Super important. You need to decide when to go live. You need to decide when they will have the capacity to test, because it's something that's going to require a lot of time. So if you just think, oh, okay, we'll go live in July, but then you're going to be testing potentially in May and in April. Oh, but that's where we have the most sales, so we have no capacity to test. Then we need to move things even further, even closer in time, because those things need to happen. Otherwise, it's going to be a chaos. During the upgrade, of course, regular status updates, so that your customer knows every week what's happening, how it is progressing. While testing, it's usually okay for them because they are seeing things, but during the technical migration, when you are really migrating code, they see nothing, and it may take months. So imagine months passing by and you see nothing, you don't know what's happening, so you really need to tell them, so we are working in here, we have already migrated this part, these customizations, this and that, we expect to be ready by whatever. Those kind of things are super important, so that they are feeling informed and they are not feeling abandoned. And yeah, regular status updates and regular meetings. Once a week could be enough, 15 minutes, half an hour, just to check things, and so that you may even raise blockers or things that you have detected that you didn't foresee. Okay, and the last point is defining your roadmap. Of course, this is the key, together with the budget, to be successful in the project, right? So if you don't have a good roadmap with milestones properly defined, so that you and your customer and the key testers and everybody involved are super aware of your schedule. If that is not happening, you are lost. So in my experience, determining the best go live date is the first thing you should do. Is like, when are you capable of going live? It should not be in the high peak of your company, so it should be better in a week that people are going to be there, they are going to be working, but there are not going to be crazy stuff happening. So that if problems arise, you have the time to fix them, and nobody's going to feel the pressure like, oh my God, if he's not fixing the next 5 minutes, I'm going to lose a sale, for example, right? So you determine the go live, and then you need to determine, are they going to be able to test? When? It's usually months of testing. At least 1 month of testing is going to be needed by them, so they need to be engaged, have the time, and be available. So you need to find as well that month before the go live. Once you have that month, or potentially 2 months, you need to decide, okay, how much dev capacity I have for the development, how much project manager capacity I have. So what's the time span that I'm going to need for that? So that's important. And then yes, consider potential delays so that you take all those things into account, and that's going to give you your day to start, let's say. One comment, DV upgrade and code upgrade, they can happen in parallel, so you can start sending your DV to Odoo SA on day first, even though you have not migrated anything, because you are going to require multiple attempts. So do not wait until the very end, because then maybe you have your code migrated and then your DV is not, and you are going to need maybe weeks until all the scripts from Odoo are working for your customer database, because that can happen. And yeah, schedule meetings during your process so that your customer is always informed about everything. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we're going to have the Q&A session. And this is your...
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
So we have actually a couple of questions. First one is, how long do you wait before considering a new version available for a customer for the stability of the version?
So available per se since it's launched, because Odoo 19 is launched, and unless you think that you are going to be able to migrate in 1 month, you are not going to be able to go live until 3-4 months, which is more or less the time I consider that it needs for the first bugs to be really fixed, to be stable, and to be sure that they are going to feel like the new version is the right option. But I would not stop offering a new version since the beginning, because really it takes time for a migration. So yeah.
Fair enough. Thank you. Second question is, how long does it usually take on average to migrate from one version to another +3, so 3 versions later, for a customer with around 20 custom modules?
20 custom modules. I mean, the number of custom modules is not really determining per se, because they can be super small depending on your development strategy. But so the thing is, if you have invested a specific amount of money in your project, at least a third of that money is going to go into an upgrade process.
Right.
So that's the bare minimum, I would say.
How do you handle unexpected issues that occur after the migration and in production? Do you ever have to roll back?
No, we have never had to go to roll back, because what we do is, of course, during the testing phase, we do several rollouts.
Mm-hmm.
So a minimum of 2, up to 4 or 5. So that means that we deploy new Odoo Core enterprise code multiple times, and with the latest bug fixes from the custom modules, etc. And the customer needs to test every single time all their main workflows. So the chances to have a big problem are very low. But the day of the go live, as well, we go live, but only for the key users. Okay. So not everybody has access, and after that, they have like a few hours to test. If everything is okay, we consider the go live a success, and then we really go live. Mm-hmm. But if they, at that point in time, say, we have blockers, which has never happened to me, then we would say, okay, we roll back at that point in time, but we don't consider it a go live because end users never saw it. And then you scheduled another date, maybe in 2-3 weeks, and then you try to fix those blocking issues. Right. That shouldn't have happened if you have like a proper testing phase.
Okay, what would you say is the biggest pitfall in migrations?
The biggest pitfall, first, not communicating to your customer clearly. That's something that can happen, and it's very bad because they feel abandoned, and then the trust may start to be lost. And the other thing is to underestimate budgets, so that you don't take into account all the OCA that you have, all the purchased apps, things that are beyond your control, but that you still need to allocate some budget for it. If you don't do it, and suddenly it appears, and it increases your budget, is going to be a big and bad surprise.
Yeah, maybe you want to, you'd rather say, okay, budget is 10,000 and then maybe it's 5,000, they will be happy.
Exactly.
But the other way around, it's
not overinflating, but as well not underselling.
Yeah, you
because
don't want to be too
too tight.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Next question is, how do you calculate the necessary budget for an upgrade, as there are always an infinite amount of unforeseen consequences?
Yes. So it's always an estimation. So it's very difficult that you really stick to a number because again, it's lots of things can happen. We in particular have our own formulas with past experience, number of Odoo versions involved, quality checks in the code to see, and the changes that have been in versions. So if the accounting has been revamped and you have lots of accounting customizations, so the accounting modules are going to be considered extra complicated.
Yep.
So each line of code in there is going to be estimated a little bit higher than maybe in, I don't know, knowledge that maybe has suffered not that much,
Right.
for example. Those kind of things.
And well, we're running out of time, but I'll let you know that there are still 2 questions that maybe you might want to reply later.
Yes,
on.
I mean, if someone wants to have an answer, I mean, I'm going to be here for a few minutes, so if you just come here, you
Okay.
can. Otherwise, you can meet us in our booth, and we can talk more if you want.
Thank you so much again for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.